Thank you, Danielle. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Our guest is Fox Sports Detroit's own Trevor Thompson. Let's bring in Trevor. Trevor, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time today.
Art, the pleasure is all mine. It's good to see you with that shaggy look. I'm digging it. Everybody's got their COVID look, and you're rocking yours about as good as anybody I've seen.
Well, at my advanced age to still have hair, I'm going to let it flow. You know what I mean? It's that's the way it goes. And I want to say something before we begin. I know you're rocking a Red Wings look today, but in honor of you, I've got the Argos going, buddy. Right here.
Argos. Argos.
Argos.
Long live Pinball Clemens.
Argos. Yeah, pinball, man. Hey, those pictures are coming. I do. Unfortunately, COVID-19 screwed that whole thing up. But pinball is well aware of Trevor Thompson, his biggest fan, by the way. Let's move on. I know we've got all kinds of. Yes, yeah, you love the Argos, though. Love them. With that said, let's look at it. So far, the Tigers. I don't know. Are you surprised they're 5-5, especially because they had to play Cincinnati, almost exclusively to begin the season?
I'm not surprised they're 5-5. The potential for a good start was there, but what has surprised me, Art, is just some of the quality of the pitching that we've seen. I mean, Gregory Soto has been a revelation coming out of that bullpen. He's been marvelous. That's been good to see. And on the other side, surprised kind of that Matt Boyd has had a couple of starts, didn't quite go the way he'd want to, but we know he's going to work his way out of that. But 5-5, right where I think they would be about this point in time. Win a few, lose a few, keep it interesting. But it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to see Jacoby Jones do what he's been doing at the plate. It was scary to see him get hit in the face for a second time in his career a week ago. But I'll tell you what, he's been simply amazing at the bat and played some pretty good defense as well. So all over the field, there's some bright spots. And 5-5 is not really surprising. I think it's right where I thought they might be about this time.
Well, when you look at it, I mean, certainly we talked about it heading into the season about the veteran leadership that they that the Tigers have. C.J. Cron, Jonathan Schoop, Austin Romine. I mean, those three guys have really, really been valuable additions. I mean, Cron and Schoop hit for power, and what Austin Romine is some of the pitching staff, I think he's really settled them down. So I think in a way you have to tip your cap to Al Avila.
On the defensive side of the ball, all three of those guys have made their impressions felt along the way too, Art. Not just Romine behind the plate with the pitching staff, but defensively he's been made a couple of really heads-up plays and been all you could have asked for. And Jonathan Schoop, he's doing it on both sides of the ball as well. And I did not know C.J. Cron was that good a defender, and he's also done it at the plate too. So yeah, tip your cap to Al Avila, and tip your cap to those guys coming to Detroit and playing some very good baseball early on and leading some of these younger guys.
When we talk about the veterans, and maybe because this is his third stint around with the Tigers, I mean, I can still remember when Cameron Maybin and Andrew Miller were traded for Miguel Cabrera. But Cameron Maybin has been a valuable addition. I know he's hurt right now, but we have a tendency to forget about him. But he certainly brings a lot on and off the field to this Tigers club.
Yeah, and let's not forget about Jacob Turner in that deal as well. And he was supposed to be untouchable.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard much of him since that deal. But Cameron Maybin, it's just too bad he got hurt because the guys in the clubhouse were telling us that he was one of the reasons that the atmosphere and the culture inside the clubhouse had changed. And he was like the glue guy holding things together and pumping guys up with his energy, kind of like Torrey Hunter did when he was here. You felt his personality, his charisma. You see it, you feel it in the clubhouse, and his positivity. And he was sort of buoying that room with that positivity and with that kind of energy he brought. So they're going to miss him in the clubhouse as well as on the field. And it's just too bad he came up injured.
Now, the Tigers resume the season in Pittsburgh on Friday. Reports are now circulating that the Cardinals are out of their quarantine hotel in Milwaukee. They're going to practice. They're going to end up playing the Cubs hopefully this weekend, meaning that baseball hopes all 30 teams will be participating on Friday, that we'll get back to, what today's normal is like. How concerned are you about this baseball season, whether they're going to be able to finish this 60 or not?
I was very concerned, but you know what, Art? It just seems like they're insisting on pushing through come what may. And if that's the case, we're just going to ride it out with them. but certainly it's got to be scary because one of the things that I'm concerned about is if one of these athletes gets it and has after effects with their organs, with their heart or their lungs, like we're hearing that some people have, how it might affect them. And I just think that that's one of the big concerns that's being overlooked right now. And when you get these numbers, 13, 20 players on a team, chances are somebody could have some lasting effects from that. And it could affect their career, if not this year, maybe in the future as well. So that's one of the things I'm going to be looking for out of this. I think it's a very scary proposition for a lot of people. We've heard some coaches have contracted it as well. If you get an older coach that gets it, what will be the result of that? So there's some scary things out there when you're playing with fire like this, but it seems like they're going to push through regardless. So as far as the season continuing and getting them all in, right now, I don't really think much about that. I think they're going to continue to go, and that'll be the way we roll.
Right. I mean, obviously, you bring up some really, really grave concerns, and I agree with you. I think that unfortunately, I think we all are so caught up in all the seasons that are going on right now. But hopefully, baseball will continue. They seem to have a pretty good lid on it. With that said, and the reason I did ask you that question is that my mantra has been, why not the Tigers in a 60-game schedule? I'm going to ask you, Trevor Thompson, why not the Tigers? I mean, could they make some noise? They're in the playoffs, I guess, if they were to begin today.
Why not the Tigers? I mean, like I said earlier, Matthew Boyd is going to bounce. You just got Dan Loris back. He's a veteran. He's obviously pumped up for his first start. He's going to knock some rust off. He's going to be okay. Out of the bullpen, Soto has been fantastic. Farmer has been fantastic. Jimenez is 4 for 4 in save opportunities. That bullpen is going to give the rest of that team a lot of confidence going forward if they continue to shut things down. And you're still awaiting the arrival of Casey Mize. That's something to look forward to. I was at training camp 2.0 or whatever you want to call it with the inter-squad games and saw this guy dealing on the mound. And he's got the poise and the command and the stuff of a veteran pitcher. I can't wait to see him when he gets up here and adds to the mix. And what these guys have done at the plate, and Cabrera hasn't even got hot yet, why not the Tigers? There's a lot of positive things going on. There's a lot of confidence in the back end of that bullpen, and they've got some veteran sticks that can really help move this offense along, as well as some of these young kids. I think they've got more speed in the lineup. When you look at the outfield, the defense has been right there. Why not the Tigers? Certainly the White Sox are off to a great start, too, in the division, and the Twins are going to be a top contender for sure as well. But why not the Tigers making some noise?
Trevor, how has this impacted your job? I know I saw you in the studio with Beaches, and Johnny Kane was at the ballpark. Unfortunately, Johnny Kane couldn't eat anything because it's empty, the ballpark for the most part, and we know he loves food. But with that said, how has COVID-19 impacted your telecast for Fox?
Yeah, a lot, Art. I mean, first of all, let's start with the travel. I'm used to jumping on the team plane, Johnny or I, and going on the road. There will be no travel this year for the reporters or for the announcers, for Matt and Jack and Dan covering the games. So they're calling games out of literally a closet on the road back here when the team is away. That's kind of weird to see. And then down at the ballpark, just no fans. The energy that is not in the ballpark is really palpable. You can notice the difference there. And they're piping in crowd noise. It's just not the same. Then foul balls and home runs, you see some of the Tiger staff running around to collect those balls instead of fans scrambling for them. It's just really weird. The lack of energy around the park and the city really during game days and the energy that you're missing, it's a big, big difference. But we are at the ballpark. We are covering live events. The Tigers are winning. So from that standpoint, it's been fun. But there's so many things different about this year, doing post-game interviews on Zoom. It's just the strangest thing we've seen.
Yeah, and maybe because we both have been long time like reporters and seen a lot of live sporting events. I find myself not aware of the surroundings or what's going on once the competition begins, which I believe, and I'll throw the NHL into this. I haven't watched much of the NBA, but I am amazed at the competitive level that these guys are able to maintain it in such really bizarre times.
The NHL has been fun to watch, actually, and what they've done covering up the seats and the big scoreboards and banners around the rink, it really looks good what the NHL has done. And the competitiveness, there were fights from game one all the way through, and it does feel like some playoff intensity out there. So from that standpoint, the NHL has been fun to watch. You may not notice it, but I certainly notice no fans at baseball games just because you're so in the mix with the fans when you're moving about the stadium. And you can definitely sense the energy they bring to the ball club. And the guys notice that's absent too. And just speaking with a couple of the guys about that, they said they know fans are at home watching. So they're just thinking in their heads, hey, we're being watched. Let's give our fans the best product we could. Let's win for our fans here. So they're aware the fans aren't there, but they're still trying to perform at a peak level for them. And that does bring out some competitiveness for sure.
Well, now if you're at the ballpark and there's no fans, and you're right, you're used to the tossing to you, and you have a little tidbit, or you might be talking with Sadie from Escanaba, who's at her billionth Tiger game, and she's like 106 or whatever. I mean, there's feature stories, there's things to do. So what do you do then? What do you talk about? Are you just specifically involved in that game?
You dig a little deeper, Art. You find the stories. Johnny did a story the other day. They have tape over the seat numbers in certain sections
Right.
behind home plate because the sun was reflecting off of the seat numbers and making it tough for guys to see. That was a great story about why that tape was over there on some seats and not others. So you're looking a little deeper to find what's there. I'm looking at the baseballs. Like I said, they've got kids running around collecting the baseballs. How many baseballs are you going through? Who's collecting these baseballs, and what are they being used for after they're collected? These kinds of things, the different aspects of the game are where you're looking for stories now. There's a story in the way we cover the games now, doing Zoom interviews pre and post, as opposed to being in the manager's office and in the clubhouse. So you're just looking a little harder, a little deeper in different places for your stories rather than talking to people that aren't there. But this is what we're looking for, and this is what the challenge is these days.
Well, you guys do a great job. I'm watching all the time. Not because all of you are my friends essentially, but just because it's a fun and it's a really cool broadcast to watch. Now, I want to turn because people are going to say, okay, all right, Regner, you got that Argos thing on for some reason, but Trevor's got that Red Wing logo. He's got the old wing wheel on his chest, so you've got to ask him at least one or two hockey questions. First of all, we talked a little bit, touched upon the NHL. Are you surprised that the Rangers went out in 3? I mean, when you look at these individual series and these play-in series, I'm sorry, they're just not for me. I watch them because I love the sport, but these qualifying rounds have been really exceptional.
The Rangers had a regular season, and they've got a lot of talent. And watching Artemi Panarin has been just a joy all season long. And Zibanejad, what he did all season long. And young Shesterkin in net, I thought he was ready, but obviously he's not. I am surprised they got bounced in 3. I'm surprised they didn't win a game. I think they've got too much firepower, and I guess they're going to have to regroup. Some teams were able to get back to their game quicker. Some teams play a more simplistic style, and I think that's what maybe the Rangers got caught up in facing the Hurricanes. But I'll tell you, Art, I've watched the playoff games. The play-in games are a little different, the intensity, but the playoff games have certainly been a lot of fun to watch, and it has been playoff intensity, and there are going to be some surprises along the way. And the next surprise could be the Maple Leafs getting bounced by the Blue Jackets. To some people, that may not be a surprise. To others, it's going to be a big one. But that could be the next one up.
Well, Toronto actually, they played pretty well in the second game. I think maybe it's just me, but the Leafs not playing in front of their own fans, even though they're in their own building, might be the best thing that's ever happened to that young team.
It might be. They were actually in the visitors' room the other day. That had to be kind of strange for them. But they're facing some pretty good goaltending right now. Tortorella's coaching that team up. They're going to be a hard out, Columbus.
When it's all said and done, I'm picking Vegas. I'm just picking Vegas after what they did to Dallas too the other night, being down 3-1 and then scoring 4 goals. There's just something about, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a hockey club that has a way of coming back in the third period, regardless of how many goals are down, like the Vegas Golden Knights. But who do you see hoisting it at the end? Because I think this is going to be a legitimate champion. Whomever wins the Stanley Cup's really going to earn it.
I'm highly impressed by Vegas and have been since they first came into the league. They're not my pick to win it right now. I'm going with either the Capitals or the Bruins to win it right now, Art. I just think they're battle tested. I think they've got everything in place. They've been there and done that. I question whether or not Vegas has the depth to get there. And I really wonder about Fleury right now and Leonard and that. I just got some question marks about them, but I'm going in the East. I'm going Boston or Washington.
Trev, and I'll still remember that night in Montreal where I had a little bit of an episode and you were really worried about me and you kept checking on me and I was fine, but I always appreciate that too. So you take care of yourself. Looking forward to seeing you soon and best of luck and keep kicking some tail over at Fox Sports Detroit.
Hey, Art, appreciate that. And you're looking a whole lot better today than you were that night in Montreal. Digging the flow, guy. Nice job.
Yeah, really. Thank you. Well, you know what? You're no slouch with your hair too, man. I love it. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Headliner, presented by a Miller Lite. Miller Lite, it's the original light beer, only 96 calories. It's delicious, and guess what? It's available for delivery. Daniela, back to you. Trevor is, without question, simply the best.